I often get asked, Ryan, what is the best smartphone? And spoiler alert, the Pixel 5 isn't the answer that I give. But I also get asked, Ryan, which smartphone should I buy? And after they tell me they don't want an iPhone, the Pixel 5 is the answer I give. So today, thanks to Vodafone for sending out the smartphone for review. Check out the links in the video description to see their 5G plans. We are going to be looking at the Pixel 5 in 2021. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and after half a year, is the Pixel 5 worth buying? Let's find out. So, Google released the Pixel 5 in mid-October of 2020 and charged £599 for it at the time, a price that has remained the same on the Pixel store ever since. You can get one of these on eBay for around £450 to £500 depending on usage, and whilst that is quite a nice saving, at this discount I'd recommend just buying it brand new with a warranty and potentially a bundle deal or a contract, as you're getting a good amount of smartphone for your money anyway. The Pixel 5 as a whole is pretty well balanced, to be honest. It's rocking a high-end mid-range chipset, a solid display, a great camera, a decent battery and some good hardware and software features. But before I start gushing about how amazing the Pixel 5 is, we need to touch on the less than adequate points of the Pixel 5. Specifically, I want to talk about build and performance. When I talk about build, I'm not talking about the fact that the Pixel has gone from glass and metal to metal with a plastic coating on the outside of it. That is going to be an issue for some people, and yes, it doesn't feel nearly as premium as the Pixel 4, but we'll talk about that a bit later. What I am talking about when it comes to build is the fact that there's no like small and big option like there has been, well, pretty much since the Pixel's existence. And I'm not talking about having the same like option from big and small. Like the Pixel 4a 5G is kind of a bigger Pixel 5, but it doesn't have as many of the nicer features and it costs less. No, that's not really what I'm talking about. I mean, there's a Pixel 5 and the Pixel 5 Plus or XL or whatever you want. Why is that not a thing? Like so many people who've spoken to me about it won't buy the phone because it's too small. They like a big screen like on the Mi 11i or on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, or even just a bigger screen than the pretty small one that's in the Pixel 5. But they want the Pixel 5's features like the better build, the wireless charging, stuff like that. You can't get that in the Pixel 4a 5G. And I just don't understand why. Like, people who want bigger phones generally want better features in those bigger phones, so why aren't you offering that, even at a price premium? I don't know. The build materials and quality from where I'm standing are absolutely fine for the money. That's not an issue. This metal plated back with plastic coating looks and feels fantastic in the hand. I think the sort of sage colour looks the best. This black model is very clean though, call me a fan if you will. The switch from metal to glass is going to be a turn off for some, like I said before, but I happen to actually quite like it. It's definitely grippier and harder to fall out of your hand. The review unit that I have here that's been passed around several publications and reviewers isn't looking in the best shape right now. It's actually got quite a few scratches on the front. I'm not sure if this is someone who's maybe put the phone in their pocket with some keys and just like scratched it up accidentally or something, because the Pixel 5 does use Gorilla Glass 6, which is just as scratch resistant as Gorilla Glass 5, which is pretty good. So I think that might not be like something that's going to happen to you if you take care of your phone, and obviously a lot of people put screen protectors on their phones anyway, but it is something to keep in mind. The equal bezels right the way around the outside of the display, they're fantastic and something that I've been asking for in a smartphone since the iPhone 10. The punch hole doesn't look too bad here in my opinion, but do let me know what you think in the comments section when it comes to punch holes. What about performance? Many were skeptical because the Pixel 4 is actually more powerful than the Pixel 5. Now, all I'm going to say is it's fine, it's good enough, it's adequate for most people. If you're not really heavily gaming, if you're not sort of streaming and filming and editing on your phone loads, then it's going to be fine. And it can even do some of those tasks quite lightly as well. However, if you're more like me, like if you just don't care about performance all that much, you can get away with a mid-ranger. You only really go through social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that kind of thing, then you're going to be fine with the Pixel 5. It's not an issue. However, there is an issue with longevity. A lot of smartphones with mid-range chipsets don't last as long as those with like overkill chipsets, because those overkill chipsets slowly become decent, then like good, or good, then decent, then like meh. and it takes a couple more years to get those to become like poor and underperforming, and the 765 that's in the Pixel 5 is going to take fewer years to get like to a poor quality. So instead of lasting you maybe 4 or 5 years, it's going to last you closer to 2 or 3 years. There is one performance issue that I had, and that is the processing of images. Now this is something I do quite a lot. I take a lot of photos, but the processing of obviously Google's HDR, their computational photography, is like huge. It's basically the backbone of their entire camera setup. And that processing, when it comes to just normal photos, HDR, portrait, anything like that, it like literally anything you throw at it, it takes a little bit longer. And it's enough of a little bit longer to actually, you can feel it, you can see it, you can be like, right, I can't actually preview that photo for like another couple of seconds, which might seem fine, you know, but it's a £600 phone. And at that point, you're kind of like, I'm spending quite a lot on a phone here, I kind of want more. Thankfully, the quality is good. We'll touch on cameras a little bit later, but the weight and the delay, it just doesn't feel very seamless. And for a Pixel device, I expect quality, especially from the flagship Pixel device, and this doesn't really have that there. So onto the things I actually really like now. Firstly, it's the software. It's the latest and greatest Android 11 and it looks and feels great. I personally really like Pixel Experience, as you get the latest software version faster than any other Android smartphone, and this aids in compatibility and security, but also gives you the latest features. This might be a personal preference thing, but I really like the minimal camera bump on the Pixel 5. I mean, it's almost flush with the rest of the chassis, which is great. And I also really like the capacitive fingerprint reader on the back. Sure, it's not like fancy Face ID and it's not got like fancy in-display fingerprint scanner, but it's a lot quicker and more reliable than either of those options in my personal experience. Then there's the battery life. It's just over a 4000 mAh battery, and a lot of people expected it to be pretty poor, but I found it to be really good. And I'm not sure if this is sort of Google software or maybe the fact it's using a mid-range chipset instead of a flagship one, but you know, no Project Solly in that. But you are getting a really, really good battery experience in my opinion. I'm easily getting a full day, like absolutely no issues. I'm caning the brightness all the way up, and I'm using Wi-Fi and 4G, and it's getting me through a full day. If you're a super heavy user, you might need to top up, and it's not the fastest due to the 18-watt fast charging, but it's all right, and personally it's good enough for a lot of people. The display is also fantastic. It's a 6-inch 90Hz 1080p OLED, which on paper isn't the best thing in the world, but it's very well calibrated, it's very fast, it's just a really nice display. It's not over the top, it's not Samsung level, but it's still really nice. Anyway, for multimedia usage, like say playing games and watching Netflix and stuff, this is fine, but you're going to be better off with a bigger display naturally anyway. This isn't really a phone designed for that kind of thing, but if you do want to use it for that, as I said, the display is so good anyway quality wise that you're going to get a good experience. And now for the camera. Pixel cameras have historically been a bit of an odd one for me because they've lacked versatility, and that is something I crave in a camera setup. But of course they've smashed it out the park when it comes to performance. This one bests last year's for me because it has the ultra wide, which on the face of things doesn't sound like a lot, but for me I really use the ultra wide a lot, so I really like that. It's a 16 megapixel ultra wide matched with the 12.2 megapixel main and an 8 megapixel selfie camera. The samples are very typical of Google in that there's lots of dynamic range with some added contrast and a slightly less saturated color profile compared to the samples from Samsung and Xiaomi. This processing style is going to come down to personal preference, which one you actually like. I think the Pixels is probably one of my favorites alongside Huawei's. But the Pixel 5 is up there with the 12 Pro Max and the Galaxy S21 Ultra as one of the best smartphone cameras. I would say it's worse than those two, but not by much. That's a lot of praise for a device that costs around half of those two options. I mean, when you consider that there's less hardware to play with, a slower chipset, a way shallower camera bump, what's not to love when it comes to the Pixel 5's camera? It's really, really good, and it's something you could probably use to run a photography first Instagram account or something like that. It is actually that good when it comes to quality, it's just how you use it. So notes away, I'm not going to bother asking the question, should you buy it? Because at this point, you know that I think you should. It's not going to be the fastest smartphone on the market, it's not going to have the most camera versatility, and it's definitely not got the biggest screen. But if what you want is high quality, decent performance, brilliant cameras, a good screen, and something that's going to last you the next 2 to 3 years, the Pixel 5 is a fantastic option. Should you wait for the Pixel 6 to come out? I don't think so, but we'll talk about that in another video and why it's never really the right time to buy a smartphone. Anyway, with that said and done, I want to thank Vodafone for sending the Pixel 5 out. It's really helped. They send out a lot of phones for me to review. So check out the links in the video description to where you can buy the Pixel 5, but also to like their 5G plans, their 4G plans and that kind of thing. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one, and also check out all my social media links in the video description. I've been Ryan Thomas and I'll catch you later. Peace.